Good. Hey everybody, I'm Chris.
And I'm Patrick from Sloan.
And you're watching Sit and Spin with Joe
On Q104 75 Excellent.
Hey there, and welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, but it does kind of get sidetracked from time to time due to illness and life getting in the way. In this case, it was illness again. I had to go through a second round of antibiotics to get rid of the sinus infection that's been plaguing me for the last 2 months, and it's still kind of lingering a bit. But anyway, welcome back to another episode of Sit and Spin with me, your host, Joe Royland. And I want to also say thank you to Chris Murphy and Patrick Pentland from today's band that we're going to be talking about, one of my favorite groups to come out of the 90s, and that being Sloan. We're going to be talking about their new album, the aptly titled 12th. We'll get to more of that in a minute. Sloan are from Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. They formed in 1991, and they're no strangers to the show. We've talked about them before. Back to see episode 67. And 25 years now, quarter of a century, the band has been rocking our world. It was 1993 that they released their debut album, Smeared. The group is comprised of singer-bassist Chris Murphy, singer-guitarist Patrick Pentland, singer-guitarist Jay Ferguson, and singer-drummer Andrew Scott. And that's right, all four of these guys not only contribute to the lead vocals of the band, but also songwriting, which makes them kind of unique. Not too many bands do that. As I said before, this is the band's aptly titled 12th album, 12. Also features 12 songs. It was recorded at the group's own Sloan Studios, co-produced by the band with Ryan Haslett, and issued via their own Murder Records in Canada and Yep Rock Records here in the US, which has been their home since the mid-2000s. After the band's ambitious last record, the double album Commonwealth, which was essentially 4 solo EPs with each member getting one side of the double record set, this record finds the band once again sounding very united. This time out, things are still fairly evenly split up, with each of the 4 members getting 3 tracks out of the 12 on here. But there's, again, like I said, much more of a sense of unification, probably like even before that, going on to this record, especially the harmony vocals and on the performance end. The album kicks off with Chris Murphy taking the album's lead-off track and first single, as he usually does with most of the Sloan albums, and the excellent single Spin Our Wheels, a fine slice of upbeat power pop with all chimey guitars and this cool descending guitar riff. It's one of the catchiest songs Chris has ever come up with, as well as one for the band in general. Really love it. Next up on the album is the first offering from Patrick Pentland, a song called All of the Voices. It's another outstanding tune with a chord progression right out of the early days of 90s alternative rock, right around when the band started, actually. Kind of think of 2 of their former label mates back then, which would be Nirvana meets the Posies, and that's kind of an idea of what this tune sounds like. The Posies, if I was going to describe Sloan to anybody who hadn't heard them before and they were familiar with other power pop type bands, the Posies would be the band I would go to first, but even then, that's only 2 guys sharing lead vocals and harmonies, and this is 4, so that's double the doubly goodness right there. Also has great 90s rock guitars, 90s alternative rock guitar solo in it too. But the third track on the album is where Jay Ferguson makes his debut with the record's third track, Right to Rome, a tune that shows off his pop classicist roots with a bit of lighter yet brighter fare. When I say that, it doesn't mean it's wimpy, it's just that Jay's stuff tends to be usually a little bit more refined, and you can definitely hear the roots of a lot of his influences, which we'll get to a little bit more on the album later. But great tune from Jay for his first outing on the record. And then track 4 goes to Andrew Scott with the moody psychedelic folk rock of Gone for Good, a song that vocally recalls Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, and it's another fine outing from him, mixing acoustic guitars with this offset piano and glorious vocal harmonies. Really sweet stuff. So right now we're 4 for 4. One awesome song from each of the band members on this album. Is that going to continue through the record? Well, keep listening, we'll find out. The next tune in the album, This Day Will Be Mine, is another standout track that shows off Patrick's sunnier side of pop. Patrick is usually the guy that brings like the harder rocking aspect and the punk edge to the band, although he's really well-rounded and does great power pop stuff, as this song proves. There's also a killer guitar solo in this tune, which is kind of talking about that more harder edge to it, that I wanted to record at their live show, but I was so caught up in watching it, I completely forgot about it. I only got a little piece of the end of it, and I'll probably just tack that on to the end just so you can see it. But another fine song from Patrick on this. And side one closes out with the song Essential Services, which returns Jay to the spotlight with another beauty of old school inspired pop. You can hear elements of people like the Zombies and the Beatles and other bands in this one. And it sounds like Jay is either doubling or even tripling his vocal harmonies in some of this part, but I'm sure it's some of the other guys too that are blending in there. But it does, to my ears, it sounds like multiple J's, but it's another great song from him. Chris starts off the second side of the album as well with a tune that partially, at least in the title, revisits one of the band's earlier hits with the song Don't Stop, parentheses, If It Feels Good, Do It, which was a hit off their 2001 album, Pretty Together. The tune revels in early 70s AM goodness with a bit of a funky bass beat to it, cool harmonies, and a sweet guitar solo also. It shows off Chris's skills as a lyricist, clever lyricist that's second to none. One of the things I really appreciate about Chris and his songwriting skills is that he always has some really witty lines going on in his songs. This one's no exception. Andrew's back up for the next track, which is a kind of a Neil Young meets Matthew Sweet inspired Year Zero with this kind of distorted little sound to it. It also has a great bass line going on behind it throughout it. Now, I'm going to assume, since it's the studio, that it's Chris on bass, but it could very well be Jay too, because when Andrew steps up to do lead vocals in the band's live show, he comes out and takes over on guitar from Jay. Jay moves over to bass, taking over for Chris, and Chris goes back to the drum kit, taking over for Andrew, which is a pretty cool thing that you also don't see too often with other bands. And just something that's unique, makes Sloan rather unique in that aspect. Back to the record though, Have Faith is the next track on the album. It kicks off with this false bit of distorted guitar crunch before settling into a more restrained number. It's Patrick's almost final lead vocal on the album, and it has this cool shimmering reverb guitar effect, this cool tone, and some other really nice guitar solo bits going on to it too. Jay's final lead vocal on the album comes in with the song The Lion's Share, and it's almost like he saved his best track on the album for that, which doesn't say that the other two tunes are bad, but this one's just exceptionally good. Has this absolutely gorgeous harmony, swirling vocals going on throughout it. Gives me goosebumps in all the right places. It's just a home run out of the park. Good on you, Jay. And Chris's last track on the album comes with the very 80s rocket sounding Wishpond Satellite, just a huge chorus, big crunchy guitars, and even the solo sounds right out of the 80s. It's offset with a driving bass line, and Patrick also comes in to sing lead vocal on the song's second verse, and I kind of like it where the band members sing into each other's songs. It's cool that they all do lead, but it's kind of cool when they mix it up a little bit too like that. Very sweet. And even though it's kind of 80s sounding, it's all great. I love it. So Chris is 3 for 3, Patrick's 3 for 3, and Jay's 3 for 3. And that brings us back to the album's final closing cut, which is Andrew's song, and making it 4 for 4 for each band member. The excellent 44 Teenagers, which is sung from a teenager's point of view. Again, it starts off with this kind of slower Crosby, Stills and Nash style vocal effect. But about midway through, shakes into this cool chunky guitar riff that Andrew's playing, just switches up gears a little bit. Has a really nice moment in it in the lyrics where Andrew references his friend and the late countryman in Gord Downey of the band Tragically Hip, who passed away last year. The guys, like I said, were friends. Actually, their kids are friends too, go to school together. But it's a nice, really nice touch to see that in there. But all in all, another fantastically solid album from Sloan. The more I listen to this album, the more I love it. Definitely going to be in my top picks of the year. It's rare that Sloan releases an album and it doesn't make it into my top picks, but this one's going to be right up there, if not at the #1 spot. It's a pretty good contender for it right now. I should also give some credit to sideman Gregory McDonald, who adds additional musical and vocal aspects to this album. He's been the band's touring keyboardist / percussionist and adding sweet harmony vocals as an additional 5th harmony vocal in there to the band for like the past 11 years, and just really ups their performance levels a lot, kind of filling in all the little gaps and making everything flow smoothly, I should say. But really nice to see him there. I told him as much after the show as well. And just a great album. If you're going to get the vinyl, it does come in this cool limited edition tip-on album cover. This is a sweet little look. And if you get it through the US on Yep Rock, there's a limited edition version of the album that comes on this sweet translucent purple vinyl. Really nice shade of it. If you get the record through Canada on the band's own Murder record labels, it comes on a limited edition orange vinyl. You can order that through the band's website, which is going to be listed in the show notes. But if you actually make it to one of their shows, the band is selling both versions of the album, reasonably priced as well. It's the same price for either one you get. And if you're a vinyl fan, you could also pick yourself up a copy of one of the band's early hits, 1997's One Chord to Another. I was very excited to finally get myself a copy of this on vinyl. They're selling this at the shows, as well as their 1994 album Twice Removed, which was a few times now it's been nominated for one of the best records released by any Canadian band. Those are both available, as are all the band CDs. You can get t-shirts as well. I wanted to get a t-shirt, didn't quite have enough cash on me, and this was the priority. I was getting this one here. Or that, or I would have picked up the orange vinyl version of the album as well. But definitely do yourself a favor. If you like good rock, you like good indie rock, you like power pop, you owe it to yourself to go and check out Sloan, a band that, especially in the US, should be far more well-known than they are. They're fairly well-known in their home country, Canada, but these guys deserve to be superstars. They make excellent music that's so well written, arranged, performed, played, and produced as any band that's out there right now. And if anything, they just keep getting better with age. I mean, I think every record that's come out I've liked better than the last one, and that's rare to say about a band, but an excellent new offering from Sloan and 12. And like I said, pick it up. Definitely go see them on tour. They're out on tour in America right now. Check the website for their dates and go see them. They're playing near you. They did 2 sets. No opening act, 2 sets. First one was about an hour. The second one was a little longer than an hour, and they played an encore as well from that. Fantastic songs, all great show, great live band, and that's our show this week. Hopefully, I can't make any promises, but I'm going to try to be back on a more regular schedule again. Still got a couple new albums to talk about, one that I had to hold off just because of all this other stuff. And probably our next record they're going to be talking about is the new release from an English band, their long, eagerly awaited release that just came out recently. So stick around, come back to find out who that is. In the meantime, go out and get Sloan. And we will see you next time on Sit and Spin. Take it easy till then.